It's about 9 o'clock in the morning, the sun is up, it's really bright out here already, but if you stick around, I'm probably gonna give you some of the shortest but yet most effective advice you've ever had about gardening. So I'm out here at my garden this year, and it made me think, and I just got another email about this exact topic. I get this all the time, and this is why I want to make a video about it. Zach, why does it always feel like I'm fighting my garden? Why does it always feel like a battle? Why am I always so frustrated? Why am I so tired? I hear this over and over again in various different ways from people who write in, and it's just, my only response is you guys got into gardening with the complete, total wrong, attitude and view of gardening. You've been sold this romanticized idea of gardening, and that's not what gardening ever has been about. The home and garden magazines, all these fancy YouTube channels that show you all these crazy things and fancy things, they never tell you that this is an absolute battlefield, no holds barred. If you give an inch, you will lose. You have to be ruthless, violent. You have to be unforgiving. That's what gardening is. You're gonna deal with things every single year, and they're gonna be horrible, horrible things, challenging things. But the more you do it, the better you will get at it. And when you're new, you're going to run into obstacles, frustrations, roadblocks, but you're gonna learn if you continue with it. But I have seen lots of people quit over the years, and one of the reasons they quit, one of the reasons they get frustrated and tired is because they run into these roadblocks and they just feel like it's not worth it. When you can so easily go buy cheap Brazilian tomatoes or Mexican tomatoes, imports, and not have to worry about dealing with things here in your own garden. So my garden's growing fantastic this year. We've had so much rain. The growth has been phenomenal. My beans are doing awesome. My cucumbers are overflowing. Those two giant things back there, just overflowing with cucumbers. I have pickled so many cucumbers for pickles. I got this is going to be an absolutely phenomenal year, but I'm dealing with one big issue this year, and that's fungus. Because of all the rain, because of all the moisture, things are growing great, but my tomatoes are dealing with fungus issues. And most of my tomatoes have signs of fungus. And so what I can do, and what I've learned to do, is just to be proactive with all this and keep everything trimmed as best I can from the bottom side so that airflow can move through here throughout the day. But still, it's not enough. Because, this last week, we had 2 days in a row where I was getting, afternoon downpours at like 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, where the heat is the highest. Cloud cover will roll in, drop about 15 minutes worth of rain, downpour, and then the sun comes right back out, heats everything up, and that's a gigantic manufacture zone for fungus and molds and all that stuff. So all of my tomatoes this year, because of all the rain, have been dealing with it. And all you can do is go through and try your best at keeping things trimmed. When you see a leaf on the lower side that looks like it's getting the fungus, you cut it off. You cut off that branch. And I know a lot of people are like, man, it's shit, because what happens is you go a week or two without checking on your garden and you come out and the whole thing is like wrecked. You have to stay vigilant and understand that all of these plants are gonna die. It's why I laugh every time I see one of these YouTubers out there with giant numbers in their channel. They're gonna disinfect their pruners between every cut. What kind of garbage is that? See, it's garbage like that get people frustrated because they feel like they have to be in a lab, a clean room in order to have a garden. You don't have to do that. Guys, do you understand that everything you're doing out here is a waiting game? You're doing a delay tactic. It's just keeping the game going as long as you possibly can, because all these plants are gonna die here by the time October, November rolls around. So your job is to keep them alive long enough to get what they will produce out of them, and then just let them die. But, the fungus issue, okay, fine. They're gonna get fungus. The fungus will probably kill them if winter doesn't, but winter's definitely coming. So all you gotta do is keep things trimmed, let them have the disease, don't feel like it's gonna overtake them before they produce what they're gonna produce, and then take what they produce and then it's okay. You've gotten everything out of them at that point. But some people see the fungus come in, or the disease come in, or the pest pressures come in, or whatever, and they feel like the game is lost. No. Everything is a delay tactic. You're just trying to keep the game going long enough to get what you need out of all these plants here. And then October, November rolls around, and then you start over again next year. But you've canned everything at that point, you've harvested everything at that point, and now you're just living off the fruits of your labors. You can see this leaf right here. It's got tons of signs of fungus. And so I'm just gonna come through here. I'm gonna cut that sucker off first off, and then I'm gonna cut the branch off, remove it, and then I'll toss this away. And then this one over here, it's got also signs of fungus. I'm gonna cut that. I'm gonna pull this out. And so now what I've done, as you can see, I've been cutting branches off all of this vine, because I want this thing to be able to have breathing airflow underneath it, and that's gonna cut down on the fungus. It's not gonna stop it. The fungus is already here. Unless you spray it with a fungicide, which would be completely ridiculous because the thing's gonna die by October, November anyway. You're just trying to get all these guys to get to harvest, and then whatever else, all these new ones up here that are forming, you wanna get them all the size so you can harvest. This is a baby tomato plant, by the way. And so these two baby tomato plants, I'm just trying to get what I can get out of them and then let everything else go, but I'm going to understandably lose some. There's another sucker right there. Get that out, and I will continue to trim, like I'll trim that here in probably a couple days, but it's got signs of fungus also. You're not gonna stop the fungus. You're just trying to get out what you can get out. There's another sucker right there. Might get him there. And so, and I'm not disinfecting my clippers every time. Like, look at this tomato vine. I've got this vine completely cleared, and that's just to give it airflow so that it stays alive long enough to deal with the fungus, because it's got signs of fungus on these leaves, but it's gonna produce a lot of tomatoes. I've got like 42 caged Arkansas Travelers this year. I'm gonna have a ton of tomatoes. That's gonna allow me to make all the pizza sauce and all the salsa and all the spaghetti sauce that I'm gonna need for the next year. Another thing I'm dealing with this year, usually every year I deal with this, some years not, but most years yes, and that is deer. And that's why I have motion sensors all throughout my garden. I have motion sensors out surrounding my garden in the area. I also have moving things that keep them away. You can buy these at like Hobby Lobby. There's cheap wind things. They don't like that. They don't like things that move and make noise. They also don't like, if you can see this or not, that is fishing line. I'm running fishing line crisscross all over my garden area, which means I do have to duck it, but they hit this in the middle of the night when they get into my garden, and they don't like that. I mean, they don't like that. And plus it's tied to things that move. Once they do hit it, things move, and they don't like that. It's like ghosts. There's a bunch of ghosts in my garden, and so that keeps them out. They get in here and they freak out and they head out. They don't like staying here. And so that helps me keep things from getting eaten, like my beans. They love getting into the beans and chewing the tops. And you see, there's no chewed tops off here. I got no chewed tops on off my cucumbers and a whole bunch of my other stuff. They did get in one night and get some of my sweet potatoes, but once I put up all these rest of these motion sensors in the fishing line, they left after that. But again, this is all a delay tactic. It's a long game. You're playing the long game. You're trying to keep the deer out long enough, keep them at bay long enough in order to grow what you need to grow, get it out, and then harvest it, preserve it, can it, whatever you want to do with it, and then it all goes after that. You don't care about this in about 2 or 3 months. I only have like a 5-foot tall fence above my garden. I don't really care about building. I know some of you guys talk about constructing all these perimeters of fences like 7 feet tall, or 5-6 feet tall with 5 feet in between and all these things. Guys, I guess I've never had pressures where I needed to do anything more than what I'm doing right now. It's easy to run a little bit of stringing line. It's easy to get a couple Amazon sensors that I can use year after year, as long as you take them in the last multiple years, and that keeps the deer away. You get a couple things from Harbor Freight, and that's gonna beat all of the prices of what you're gonna pay for a whole bunch of advanced fencing options all around your garden. I got a whole bunch of Arkansas Travelers that are growing just fantastic. They're looking great. I'm gonna be harvesting these here in a couple of weeks and putting up a whole bunch of salsa and spaghetti sauce. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Summertime is all about garden. It's all about growing produce, but fall, which is coming quickly, is all about putting up meat, preserving, butchering, bringing the 4 hooves that you have out there you're paying for on your land, bringing them in, processing all that, and then putting that up for later use also. And one of the main ways we do that is with our smokehouse. So if you're interested in seeing more about that, our smokehouse, our cold smoker that we have here on the homestead, you can download the blueprints for that smokehouse over at patreon.com. Plus we have a whole bunch of other downloads and videos and different topics that we talk about when it comes to preparedness, when it comes to homesteading off-grid. All that stuff is over at patreon.com. But if you want those blueprints right now, summertime is a great time to get started on projects, building projects, and a cold smoker would go fantastic on your homestead. I'm gonna be the one to show you how to build one that works. Go check it out, patreon.com/AnAmericanHomestead, link down below. You can download that cold smoker blueprint and get started on your own cold smoker right now today. See you next time in the homestead. Bye. One of the best perks about living off-grid is that I never pay an electric bill. I love being my own power company, but that means when things go wrong, I have to be the one on call. So I try and use reliable components for my power production. For the last couple of years, I've been promoting OUPES solar generators. I've been using them and abusing them, and as it turns out, they are pretty good products. They have power generators for all occasions, and they can be charged by permanent or portable solar panels, as well as AC power. They offer true lithium iron phosphate batteries, and this is important. Recently, a family in my area had a different brand that uses the less stable nickel manganese cobalt or NMC type batteries. The unit caught fire in the middle of the night. It was a scary situation and it caused damage to the home, but thankfully nobody was hurt. The generator, as you can see, was a total loss. This drives home the point on why it's so important to employ solar generators like the OUPES brand that uses the much more safe and stable technology of lithium iron phosphate, otherwise called LiFePO4. They offer small generators for travel or for powering an entire home and everything in between. These are great backups to have in a medical emergency or to power a freezer full of your favorite meat products, or as I have shown in past videos, for even backup AC and DC power sources for ham radio communications. If the grid goes down, you're going to be thankful you have one of these units. You can find the link in the description of this video or click on the banner ad found on the front page of our website, AnAmericanHomestead.com. Right here, that banner ad right there on AnAmericanHomestead.com. Hey guys, did you know you can become a patron of An American Homestead? They get access to private videos, and we send them gifts from the homestead that we make here on the homestead. And we also enter our patrons into special giveaways that are only available to them. And before you go, please check out these other great videos. Go ahead, click. Oh wait.